All right, boys and girls. So this morning, or maybe it's the afternoon, we're going to move on with Stuart Little, finally. Seems like we started this such a long time ago and we had some interruptions, but that's okay. We don't want to just stop reading it. We want to find out about the different adventures of Stuart. So when we left off, I felt it was a good place to take a break. Stuart had had a really bad experience of being stuck in the shade, if you remember, by accident. But everyone believed that he was in the mouse hole. So they were going to rip up the floors and do all of these things to try to find him. And when they thought that maybe they weren't ever going to find him, George went around and let all the shades down. And when he did that, out dropped Stuart onto the windowsill. So that's how they found him. Okay? And this chapter is called A Fair Breeze. It's chapter 6. One morning when the wind was from the west, Stuart put on his sailor suit and his sailor hat, took his spyglass down from the shelf, and set out for a walk, full of the joy of life and the fear of dogs. With a rolling gait, he sauntered along toward Fifth Avenue, keeping a sharp lookout. Whenever he spied a dog through his glass, Stuart would hurry to the nearest doorman, climb his trouser leg, and hide in the tails of the uniform. Once, when no doorman was handy, he had to crawl into yesterday's paper and roll himself up in the second section till danger was past. At the corner of Fifth Avenue, there were several people waiting for the uptown bus, and Stuart joined them. Nobody noticed him because he wasn't big enough to be noticed. I'm not tall enough, thought Stuart, and yet I'm tall enough to want to go to 72nd Street. When the bus came into view, all the men waved their canes and briefcases at the driver, and Stuart waved his spyglass. Knowing that the step of the bus would be too high for him, he seized hold of the cuff of a gentleman's pass and was swung aboard without any trouble or inconvenience whatsoever. And here's a picture of Stuart, if you look carefully, hanging onto the back of the man's pants. Stuart never paid fare on buses because he wasn't big enough to carry a dime. The only time he attempted to carry a dime, he had rolled the coin along like a hoop while he raced beside it, but it got away from him and had been snatched up. After that experience, Stuart contented himself with the tiny coins that his father made for him out of tinfoil. When the conductor came around to collect the fares, Stuart fished in his purse and pulled out a coin no bigger than the eye of a grasshopper. "What's that you're offering me?" asked the conductor. "One of my dimes," said Stuart. "It is now," said the conductor. "Well, I'd have a fine time explaining that to the bus company. You're no bigger than a dime yourself." "I am," replied Stuart. "I'm more than twice as big as a dime. A dime comes only up to here on me," and he pointed to his hip. "Furthermore, I didn't come on this bus to be insulted. I beg pardon, you'll have to forgive me. For the life of me, I had no idea that in all the world there was such a small sailor." "Live and learn," muttered Stuart, tartly, putting his change back into his pocket. When the bus stopped at 72nd Street, Stuart jumped and hurried across the sailboat pond in Central Park. Over the pond, the west wind blew, and into the teeth of the west wind sailed the sloops and schooners, their rails well down, their wet decks gleaming. The owners, boys and grown men, raced around the cement shores, hoping to arrive at the other side in time to keep the boats from bumping. Some of the toy boats were not as small as you might think, for when you got close to them, you found their mainmast was taller than a man's head. "Excuse me, miss, got it itchy on your leg?" They were beautifully made, with everything ship-shape and ready for sea. To Stuart, they seemed enormous, and he hoped he would be able to get aboard one of them and sail away to the far corners of the pond. He was an adventurous little fellow and loved the feel of the breeze in his face and the cry of the gulls overhead and the heave of the great swell under him. As he sat on the wall that surrounds the pond, gazing out at the ships through his spyglass, Stuart noticed one boat that seemed finer and prouder than any other. Her name was Wasp. She had a big black schooner flying the American flag. She had a clipper bow, and her foredeck was mounted a 3-inch cannon. "She's the ship for me," thought Stuart, and the next time she sailed in, he ran over to where she was being turned around. "Excuse me, sir," said Stuart, "but are you the owner of the schooner Wasp?" "I am," said the man. "I'm looking for a berth in a good ship," said Stuart, "and I thought you might sign me on. I'm strong and I'm quick." The man looked at him. He couldn't help admiring the trim appearance and bold manner of this diminutive seafaring character. Diminutive means very small, and seafaring means likes to go on the sea. And character is someone who's very unique. So Stuart is a small, unique person who likes to go on the sea or on the water. "Well," he said at length, pointing the prow of the Wasp out toward the center of the pond, "I'll tell you what I'll do. You see that big racing sloop out there?" "I do," said Stuart. "That's the Lillian B. Womrath," said the man, "and I hate her with all my heart." "Then so do I," said Stuart. "I hate her because she's always bumping into my boat," continued the man, "and because her owner is a boy who doesn't understand sailing. The Lillian B. Womrath has always been able to beat the Wasp, but I believe that if my schooner were properly handled, it would be a different story. Nobody knows how I suffer standing here on shore watching the Wasp blunder along when all she needs is a steady hand. So, my friend, I'll let you sail the Wasp across the pond, and if you can beat that sloop, I'll give you a regular job." So what Stuart wants to do is get on the Wasp and actually sail it like a real sailor. "Aye, aye, sir," said Stuart, swinging himself aboard the schooner and taking his place at the wheel. "Ready about. One moment. Do you mind telling me how you propose to beat the other boat?" "I'm going to crack on more sail," said Stuart. "Not on my boat. I don't want you capsizing." "Well, I'll catch the sloop brought on and rake her with fire from my forward gun." "Foul means," said the man. "I want this to be a boat race, not a naval engagement." "Well," said Stuart, "I'll sail the Wasp straight and true and let the Lillian B. Womrath go yawing all over the pond." "Bravo," said the man, "and good luck with you." So saying, he let go of the Wasp's prow. A puff of air bellied out the schooner's headsails, and she paid off and filled away on the port tack, heeling gracefully over the breeze, while Stuart twirled her wheel and braced himself against the deck clear. "By and by, you haven't told me your name." "My name is Stuart Little," called Stuart. "I'm the second son of Frederick C. Little." "Bon voyage, Stuart," hollered his friend. "Take care and bring the Wasp home safe." "That I will," said Stuart. He was so proud and happy he let go of the wheel and did a little dance on the deck, never noticing how narrowly he escaped hitting a tramp steamer that was drifting in his path, with her engines disabled and her deck awash. And the next chapter is the sailboat race. So, boys and girls, there was a lot of terminology there about sailing, most of which I do not know. But I think it's just thrown in there for fun, actually. And also, you'll notice that the way the book reads, this book was written a very long time ago. Okay? Way back, looking on the title page, the copyright date on the title page, and here's the title page, is 1945. 1945. That's a long time ago. Okay? So, some of the talk is a little bit old-fashioned. It's not what we're used to hearing. But that's part of what I like about the book. All right, so boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow, we'll find out about the race, and we'll see what kind of activities that we can do.